Yo, my name is Marcus Russell, and this is the Marcus Russell Show. I try to comb through all of the most gritty or interesting clips from all the news. That's all I do is watch news, so you don't have to watch it and find you the most funniest or interesting or most important thing that you might have missed on the regular news. So, yo, check it. Cash Patel. I guess these Democrats thought that that he was gonna be one of them, then that's why they went ahead and allowed him to take over the FBI. But man, he is switching up on them tremendously. He might really turn the FBI headquarters into a museum, like he said. Yo, matter of fact, make sure you hit that subscribe button and let's roll the clip.
Historically, the FBI was seen as the world's premier law enforcement agency. Fidelity and bravery and integrity. The Bureau was meant to be a beacon of justice built on a foundation of trust. And that's what the FBI was back when I worked with agents nearly 20 years ago. There was never any talk about politics. It was bank robbers and kidnappers and gangs and terrorism. It was all about crime. But public perception started to slip because that foundation of trust began to crumble. Former FBI Director James Comey said the FBI did not give a hoot about politics, but his actions told a very different story. At one point, the FBI had both major presidential candidates under investigation, but even then, the fairness was lacking. Peter Strzok was in charge of investigating a man he hated, personally and politically. Agents began to conspire about how to prevent Trump from winning or how to impeach him if he did win.
Afterwards.
FBI lawyers and agents misled the FISA court. An FBI employee altered evidence to justify surveillance against a perceived political enemy. FBI agents botched major investigations like murder and rape, but found time to pursue vindictive, vexatious cases against political opponents. Perhaps nothing encapsulates what happened to the Bureau better than what James Comey himself said when he admitted he treated a Republican president differently and worse than he would a Democrat president. Chris Wray was brought in to clean up the FBI. He was warned by the Speaker of the House and the Chairman of House Intel, eye to eye, you can be part of the cleanup crew or part of the cover-up crew. But nothing changed. So when Donald Trump was elected a second time, Chris Wray resigned, and President Trump picked a former federal prosecutor who also happened to be a former federal public defender. The task is and was challenging, but essential. Restore public trust in the Bureau. Build a Bureau that is not only respected, but worthy of respect. And that man is Kash Patel, and he joins us now. Welcome, Director Patel, thank you for joining us. You've been on the job for about a month now, so tell us what you've seen and what you've learned.
Well, Trey, it's great to be with you, and I wanted to stay radio silent for the first month, just a laser focus on restoring law enforcement and the credibility and the trust.
I know he wanted to say laser focus because it's silent. Man, his voice, man, he sounds so corny, man. He sounds like a real FBI agent. I swear, he sounds like he will investigate something, everything, anybody.
The American people.
Man, that's my dude, but he's just so
out of there.
dirty.
And in order to do that, you need a strong Department of Justice. And we have a courageous leader, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her team over there. And we have to remind the folks in the American public that the FBI reports to the Department of Justice. And the FBI does not make prosecutorial decisions. We investigate based on lawful predications anywhere the facts lead us, and we work with our partners at DOJ. So that collaboration has been absolutely brilliant to set the new foundation for the FBI that we want to see serve the American people. And that's what we've been focusing on, is restoring the trust through the chain of command and through great leaders like Pam and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and PADAC Emil Gomez.
Yo, I bet he doesn't even talk like that in real life. I bet that's just his work voice. I mean, he probably talk like, welcome to Cricky, more looking. Not really. Cash Patel, I love you and I love what you're doing to the FBI. I just wish you had like a voiceover, like a cool voiceover. You know what I'm saying? Like JD Vance, he sounds hard. You know what I'm saying? He be talking crazy. Like Marco Marco Corleone. He sound like a real gangster out there doing stuff. This dude, Cash Patel, he run the whole FBI, and he's like a geek sounding. He's not a geek in real life, but on the mic.
All right, Director, you've been very intentional about moving agents out of D.C. and back into the field, which is where they really ought to be. Why is that important to you?
Well, Trey, this is my first media appearance since taking the job, and I'm glad that it's on your wonderful show. And what I want to do is highlight for the American public that there's 38,000 employees at the FBI. If you take the national capital region, as the folks around Washington, D.C. call it, the 50-mile radius around Washington, D.C., we have 11,000 employees for the FBI in that 50-mile radius, give or take.
That's a lot.
And a third of the crime does not happen in this region. A large portion of one of my priorities, fighting violent crime, crushing narco traffickers, stopping fentanyl overdoses, is happening in any town USA across this country. And they need resources in the form not just of money, but manpower. So we're going to reorient our assets in Washington. We're going to look at it strategically, as we've been doing the last month, and send our agents and analysts and SOS operatives into the field to take on this violent crime explosion that has occurred over these last 4 or 5 years, and to make sure that every state and every county, be it in my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada, or up in Montana or in Kansas or Iowa or Maine, is all safe and secure. FBI men and women who do this job so courageously every day out in the streets fighting crime.
All right, Director, you have touched on my next.
Yo, I cannot get past his voice, man. And like, he's saying some gangster stuff, but I want to push him in a locker right now. Like, knock his books out of his hands.
Question, but I want you to elaborate because I think it is central to your mission as you see it. The FBI has really broad jurisdiction. All criminal statutes are important to enforce, but your emphasis sounds to me like it's going to be on violent crime.
As it should be.
It's definitely going to be a big emphasis. Look, Trey, you and I have been in government service before, and we overlapped in the House Intelligence Committee, where we exposed the largest corruption in FBI history during Russiagate when you and I partnered there. And that formed the foundation of my ethos going forward. We have to change to the dynamic threat landscape that is changing constantly in not just America, but
okay, I like the way ethos. That sounded hard.
Broad. Back then, CT and national security were up here, but now we see the narco traffickers and the gangs exploding in terms of violence in America, so we see that shift. And so we have to shift with that threat dynamic. We're not going to forget or ignore national security. Never. The consequential mission of the FBI is to safeguard our citizenry and our way of life and to investigate those that do harm to our citizenry. Every 7 minutes in this country, Trey, a individual American citizen overdoses on a drug, a narcotic. Every 6.5 minutes, a woman or child is raped. And twice an hour, an individual in this country is lost because of a homicide. That is violent crime out of control. That is a national security crisis. So we are treating it as such under this administration with President Trump's priorities and Attorney General Bondi at the helm of the Department of Justice. I don't know how or why the American public in the world refused to acknowledge this explosion in violent crime and found it acceptable for children to be dying off at such a vast rate. Couple that with the explosion in illegal aliens, we are seeing the intersection between violent crime and so many of those illegals, and that's another priority that we're facilitating and assisting with, though that's not our primary mission. That's over with DHS.
All right.
No, it's a great question, and it speaks to the answer about how we restore trust with the American people and the FBI. And it's not just by putting handcuffs on the bad guys. I want to let good cops be good cops across this country, and that's a primary focus of mine. But on an equally important parallel track, constitutional congressional oversight is critical to communicate to Capitol Hill, where we report as the FBI to the committees of jurisdiction in Judiciary and Intel and elsewhere, and provide the documentation of where the FBI in the past made mistakes, or there was corruption, or there were cover-ups. And we will provide that documentation. The American people can read for themselves and not be told or regurgitated a version of what happened, but the actual truth. And so I've made a promise during my confirmation process, which we've upheld in my first 4 weeks here. We have provided thousands of pages of documents that have been requested to Capitol Hill for the members of Congress to analyze and take back to their constituents and respond accordingly. So I think that constitutional oversight mission is as important as something else I hope we touch upon, which is some of the violent crime and terrorists we've already taken down in the first 4 weeks here.
Yo, prior to this, I barely trust the America, the old America, not Trump's America, the sneaky America with the USAID, Cobra Command Center, gay music festivals in foreign countries. That America, I never trusted that America, especially not the FBI. Like the FBI, framed the Black Panthers. Huey P. Newton, FBI killed John F. Kennedy. FBI killed Martin Luther King. Malcolm X. The FBI is like the rap police out here, locking up, following rappers around. The FBI tried to lock up Trumpito like 4 or 5 times, following around him during while he was campaigning. Uh, I'm scared of the FBI. You know what I mean? I'm scared when people say the feds. Well, in my community, I mean, look, I got to push icy on. I'm scared of the FBI for several reasons, for a lot of reasons. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't do nothing illegal, but like, sure, I don't think Martin Luther King was, or John F. Kennedy. When you know what I'm saying, um, we need to have trust in America. And if you have, like he said, 11,000 employees just sitting in a 50-mile radius, what are they protecting? You know what I'm saying? We definitely need a safer country from violent crimes. From stuff that's violent. Now, I personally, other than fentanyl, I don't think that everything should be cased as a violent crime. Something like drugs, you know what I'm saying? Regular drugs, like that shouldn't be. You shouldn't get a violent crime charge. And then there's so much stuff going on. He said every 7 seconds somebody dies off of fentanyl. Every 2 hours somebody is raped. Like I didn't even know these stats, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, damn, what's going on, America? Are we that bad, y'all? I guess we are. I don't know. Tell me what's going on in the comments. I'm loving Cash Patel. That's it. I'm supporting everything he's doing. I love that they're downsizing on the FBI. And hey, they should turn the FBI headquarters into a museum and spread all those 100 something thousand employees out around the country so they can be, doing work for that 150, $200,000 a year. That part. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. My name is Marcus Russell. This is the Marcus Russell Show. Until next time. Peace.